first official DPS stress test melee edition. What's up guys, Petko here, welcome for another video. Today, finally, I am ready to answer the question that you guys been asking me the most. How each spec is doing so far on Midnight Beta after all of the Mythic Plus testing. And keep in mind, it's still very early on, but at least I'm going to be able to give you a preliminary action, how each spec plays out on stream, the damage profile, the rotational changes, what about the funnel damage, the ST, the current tuning, so you guys have all the answers, and hopefully make your decision after seeing the video. Maybe what's going to be altering to the rotation pleases you, stuff like that. Anyway, tomorrow is going to be the range edition. Today, we're talking about melees. Let's dive in. A massive disclaimer. This is a very early Midnight Beta testing. We are only 2 weeks into the Mythic Plus. There's gonna be at least 10 to 11 more weeks of testing. So whatever you're seeing right now in terms of power and strength and DPS meter, that's gonna change. Rotationally speaking, possibly things might not change because whether some classes are gonna be fun or not, it's usually decided very early on based on the rotation that they do or the value they provide. So that's not gonna change as much. So if you're looking for power only and you don't care about gameplay, perhaps wait into the later stages of beta once things can, get shaken down. Anyway, enjoy the video. Alright, so first pick today we're gonna review is gonna be Feral Druid. Honestly, I had no expectations going to Midnight Mythic Plus on Feral Druid, specifically because last season we played so much Druid to the Claw, but this time around, I don't think there's a clear winner between Druid to the Claw and Wildstalker. Perhaps Wildstalker now could be better, but honestly, the biggest change, or I guess a positive thing I can say about Feral, is their energy gen. Way better. Now, the starvation periods are long gone. There are very minimal areas of Mythic Plus where you're going to be waiting for the energy to gen back. I think now speaking, I quite like it. The tuning is not there for Feral, unfortunately. No matter which build that I've tried, it looks to be a little bit lackluster, especially when it comes down to AoE. Single target a little bit more bearable, but AoE wise, rough. But tuning is not something you should worry right now. Playstyle wise is quite similar to what you can expect from the War Within, with several changes, specifically more focusing on bites right now compared to Primal Rats. But overall, I quite like it. There are different possibilities of Feral Druid, but mostly, I'll keep it honest with you, you're going to be playing that in a physical comps. I just don't see that being played in a magical. As always, Battle Shout and Mystic Touch is something that you can benefit a lot from. Other than this, I think it's still pretty early to have a definitive opinion, but Feral so far could do better. Honestly, a little bit more tuning done on their behalf could do better. Perhaps buffing their rake. Right now, the swipe does so much damage while the rake is pretty much non-existent. And I'd love to shift some damage towards Primal Rat perhaps, because right now only gotta press Primal Rat once in AoE and then, blast Ferocious Bites. I don't know, like the removable Blood Talons and Swarm and Brutal Slash most definitely reduces the barrier to entry. So I think a lot more people will give it a try. Anyway, moving forward, one of the most fun specs that I've tried so far is Havoc DH. Actually, Havoc DH, I played as Fails card, and it was pretty fun. Power-wise, you can expect to be so strong, especially burst-oriented, but the APM of Havoc is most definitely much lower. Now, you can expect from pressing 10 buttons every 10 seconds, from pressing, 4 or 5 buttons, especially if you have lower haste, every couple of seconds. I guess the core rotation hasn't changed as much, although there has been some quality of life changes, especially with Tempest Glaives. That's been pretty good so far. So you can expect similar spikes of damage once you have your measure cooldowns. Every single I-beam is gonna hit also like a truck, which is obviously a good thing. And funnel, I feel like Eldraki right now was a little bit too bugged for me to try out extensively, but Fails card funnel didn't seem to be that strong compared to Eldraki, but once again, there's quite a lot of bugs with Havoc. Unfortunately, could not test it to the best possible ways, but defensive value of Havoc is looking to be super juicy. Double stack of Blur, you're going to be having a 12 seconds damage reduction once you cast your Interrupt, which again, your Interrupt cooldown is 15 seconds, so every 80% uptime you're gonna have on 15% magical DR, plus double blur, plus excessive amount of leech, Plus, Blur has a small immunity window right to the first couple seconds. Honestly, previously were pretty weak defensively, now looks to be way more promising. So yeah, I'm a big fan and a believer of Havoc DH, and I hope more changes come to them, especially for Eldraki, because I really want to play Eldraki and give it a try. Alright, next in line is gonna be Retribution Paladin. Honestly, I was really surprised with the way Retribution Paladin is playing. Now, a lot of people were like, Retribution is for chimps, super easy spec, one button, yada yada yada. But in Midnight, this is one of the few specs that actually becomes harder. Yeah, I kid you not. Now, the reason why that is harder is because Crusader Strikes are, well, you can have them as a passive if you like to, but now you can also spec to Templar Strike, which pretty much is an active button that you keep on pressing and generate holy power with. So there is no downtime. Previously in the Red Paladin, there was like specifically downtimes in between 30 seconds to a minute, where sometimes you were just getting your passive holy power. You spend 5-6 globals back to back using your AoE spender, and that's pretty much it. But now things have changed quite a bit. They shifted a lot of damage to your major spenders in AoE and single target, so a lot less damage comes from your hero talents. If you guys remember last season, most of your damage came from what? Your hero talent, right? That was the highest DPS so far. Now it seems to be way different. So I don't dislike it. Honestly, people have been saying, this is bad, this is not bad. I mean, for me, I like it. You retain the spiky damage. You have better sustain, in my opinion, better single target builds for Mythic Plus, especially when it comes down to hybrid builds Mythic Plus. So that's good. The prio damage, however, does not look to be that good, especially even if it gets buffed. There's no profile that gets you high prio, unless, I mean, every minute you can have good prio, but that's about it. And then after that, what do you do, bro? You can spend a few globals on a pure single target spender, depending on the talent choices, but still, the profile, I would say, for Red Paladin just looks to be not my favorite one so far. But everything else looks to be pretty good. Nothing new for utility, nothing new for defensives. Well, I guess there's some passive defenses getting baked in, but there's nothing new as utility-wise to be appropriate to discuss right now. All right, next in line is gonna be Survival Hunter. Well, a lot of things I can say about survival, but there's one thing that I cannot say, that is boring. Survival is not boring. First of all, dual wield is gonna be introduced to Survival Hunter. Now, I know a lot of people have not know that, but for the people that do know that, it looks pretty cool, brothers. Having double dagger, getting to melee, swiping with the daggers, throwing raptor strikes and bombs at the same time looks pretty cool. Now, rotationally speaking, the biggest change here is gonna come from your several new abilities being introduced. First of all, you can have a physical build, which is pretty much with the Bombo Stick. Oh, that's how I call it. It's not called Bombo Stick, but I call it Bombo Stick. I think it's Bomb Clap. I have no idea exactly what ability it's called, but the one that like like shoots like that in like 20-yard range. That's the one I'm talking about, and that hits like a truck. I feel like the tuning right now is a little bit off when it comes down to that ability. The Flame Fang pitch, which is the cocktail of Molotov, the burning ground stuff, is currently tuned down, so the fire build specifically wouldn't work for survival yet. However, future tuning would actually make more sense to diversify the builds and perhaps introduce a little bit more buffs to that fire build. But once again, rotationally speaking, the core of the spec is still the same. Consume tip of the scale with your spenders like Wildfire Bomb, Bombo Clat Stick, Flame Fang pitch, Raptor Strike. By the way, you're gonna be using Raptor Strike a lot in AoE right now because you're gonna be overall having periods where you have nothing else to press. And once again, Q command bombs, something similar. There is no more butchery, but that's fine because that was kind of a weird playstyle, but I love that it's gone. Also, better defensive. Also, Hunter Monarch rework, way better. Overall, W for me. Moving forward. All right, next in line is gonna be Enhanced Shaman. Now, I've tried both builds. I've tried Totemic, I've tried Stormbringer, and there's still some things about the spec that kind of irritates me, most specifically the target cap. Honestly, that's something that actually bothers me so much, and I have no idea why they insist Enhance being hard target cap in some of the abilities. I still don't understand this, but Because of this, it's just not my cup of tea, I'll be honest with you. But overall, the spec plays pretty good. The rotation flow looks to be pretty fluid. Both specs, I had no issues getting down the rotation. The power damage is still there. The good burst is still there. Oh, by the way, about a burst. As a Stormbringer, every time I had Ascendance and a Trinket, I would pull aggro. That is the only spec in a game that would pull aggro with. I have no idea what Enhance is doing. What are they smoking? What are they being designed with? But your trait issues are substantial once again for the third expansion in a row. Now, please, for the love of God, I reported it. I made feedback. Can you please nerf the threat table of Enhance? I am sick and tired of dying from aggro. Yes, I wait a couple of seconds, and yes, I do burst a lot. So please introduce a solution. I remember timelessness from Evoker was a solution, but if you don't have an Evoker, you might be quite cooked. So yeah, that's one of it. Second issue so far with the spec is gonna be your defensives. Big question mark. You have only one major defensives, and also Earth Ellie is now shorter cooldown but shorter duration. It's still not good enough in my opinion, where especially if you don't go verse, you'll be getting clapped. But your self-sustain is now better, doesn't consume meals from weapons, so technically, worst come to worst, you can just spam heal yourself, I guess. But again, that's not really a solution, just kind of a, you know, a semi-solution. That's about it. Overall, rotation flow feels pretty good. Spiky, bursty, short cooldowns as well. Plays quite nice. New ability is also pretty cool, visually, thematically. Big W in that regard. Just the copies was kind of annoying to me. All right, moving forward, gonna be Windwalker Monk. Now, at the beginning, playing Conduit, I was quite a disbeliever of Windwalker Monk. I was like, that's some bullshit. You know, battery work, Wooden Dragon Punch got removed now. I gotta play this Strike of the Windlord. Strike of the Windlord, that's kind of, you know, bad. I don't like that it's that bursted, that I do no damage. But recently, I have been changed, man, in regards to Windwalker. I've been playing a Shadowpan Windwalker, no spinning crane kicking AoE. I know what you're gonna tell me, Petko, that is not possible. How are you gonna damage? Pretty much you are cycling on CDR for your Fist of Fury, and that's how you do most of your damage. Also, unfortunately, Slicing Wind still gonna be part of your rotation, which does a shit ton of damage. Probably a lot of bit of overtuning right now, but yeah, I think overall speaking, I grew to like it actually. One of the most fun specs that I had so far, pleasure to test. Shadowpan Windwalker Conduit fucking sucks. You know, that's a big L for me, but the Shadowpan was quite good. I'm gonna attach the talents if you guys want to give it a try. Actually, that's a good side question. If you guys want me to attach the talents that I'm playing for all specs and classes, let me know. I got you. Okay. Yeah, so overall, Zenith's now going to be major cooldown. Forget about everything you know about cooldowns for Windwalker next season. You're going to have Zenith. This is your major cooldown. 2 charges. Depends if you're playing Conduit or not. You might have a possibility of 1 extra cooldown. But overall speaking, your most damage ability, like your highest damage will come from Fist of Fury, followed by, I guess, depends on the build you're playing. Could be Spinning Crane Kick, could be Slicing Winds, but it really depends. Yeah, I think overall I quite like it, honestly. I mean, the target cap can be an issue at times, yeah, sure, but overall I like it. Tuning-wise, has to be done better for me to love it. Next in line, Assassination Rogue. One of the best reworks to date for any class for the past several years. The reason why is because the dot management of Rogue is substantially better. Now all you gotta do is apply Rapture and Garrote on one target, and then use Crimson Tempest to spread your dots. That's it. And Venom is your only spender. Crimson Tempest now is a generator. It duplicates on 2 targets the longest dots or bleeds you have on the first target, and that's how you spread the dots. Pretty much, you can send it several times in AoE, and as soon as you have it on, let's say, 5, 6, 7 targets, then all you gotta do is spend it on Envenom. And if you don't want to use Tempest, Crimson Tempest to generate combo points and spread your dots, you can just use Fan of Knives. And again, Envenom is gonna be your biggest spender, because most of your AoE damage, and I mean like mass AoE damage, will come not only from dots, but also from the caustic spatter. And no mutilate anymore on AoE, no more shift as well on AoE. Shift is not part of your rotation. Honestly, I absolutely love Assassination Rogue, and they hit quite a lot actually. I'm surprised with the tuning so far on Assassination Rogue. It does very good damage, which I think at this point you shouldn't care about, but I know people are curious about it. I quite like it. Yeah, I've been testing quite a lot, and I have much better fun compared to a previous expansion. However, Apex talents are not fully working. Energy issues are way better, but they will get fully removed if they fix the Apex talents, which right now they are still not fixed at this point. But damage profile pretty good. It sets you for prior damage, it sets you for final damage. So overall, I'm a big fan of Assassination Rogue so far. Future tuning is gonna show us if that's gonna remain the case. Alright, so Sub Rogue. I feel like a lot of you would actually expect this because if you have seen my previous video, Sub Rogue is not really my cup of tea. I played it, I tested it, and I just don't like it. The current design is just pretty much Shuriken Storm, Black Powder, and that's it. That's it. No Rupture, there's no Flagellation, although Flagellation was pretty bad. So now you have your Blades, your Black Powder, your Shuriken Storm, and that's it. Shadow Strike on one target, for example. I guess it depends. If you do play Trickster, then Shadow Strike becomes a lot more relevant, especially in like smaller target count. But as a Deathstalker in Mass AoE, let's say 4 or 5 targets, all you gotta do is just press 2 buttons. It looks a little bit incomplete for me. For me, it's quite blunt rotation, but the ongoing burst on Sub Rogue is quite good right now. It has a good values for sustained damage. It has a good damage profile as well, specifically if you're deciding to use it for funnel or proud target damage. And overall speaking, it's quite simple to understand and play on. There's one issue that I'm still uncovering, and that's gonna be issues with your energy. I feel like at times I was running out of energy just because I was pressing so many abilities, and that my TSOT goes on cooldown, that I have nothing to press. I don't have a dance, for example, although the dance is now 20 seconds cooldown and it's shorter. So shorter burst windows, but more frequent. So that's gonna make your cooldown planning better, I guess, if that's what you wanna call it. But yeah, I think overall, this is one of the few specs that I didn't quite enjoy playing so far in beta. But then again, things might change, so who knows. Alright, so finally, Outlaw Rogue. I feel like this is one of the most fun specs that I've tried on beta, and I think the rework is also amazing. Much easier than the one within, a lot less APM, it kind of resembles BFA playstyle. I feel like the tuning right now is quite good in AoE because of the sustained damage, the parallel target damage. Single target is a little bit yikey, but the energy difference between the other specs is actually quite big. You are starved on energy as Outlaw Rogue, which previously never happened. Now you are just like, there are pockets of time where you kind of remind me of Pharaoh Druid last season, you know? You have nothing to press. Even if you have Blade Rush, even if you have, let's say, a decent rolls, it can still feel quite bad. I guess if you guys didn't know, they also reworked the way rolls are, less RNG, I guess, at this point, but I quite like it so far. If they fix the energy gen and make the ST a little bit better, then I would grow to love it even more. But that's about it. Love Outlaw Rogue, big W. Alright, so Warriors. Now, I have nothing positive to say about the specs, but let's begin. Fury Warrior. Exactly the same as the War Within. I've tried different builds, it plays similar, as I did not see any major differences in your rotation. Most of your damage is passive, Apex talents are now giving your Recklessness a little bit more value, outside and during Recklessness, and if you have lower uptime you get punished. The tuning of Fury Warrior is quite bad. Rampage feels like there's no damage, gotta get buffed. Apex Talons, not a big fan. At least you got better utility. As a Iris Warrior, Fury, and Prot Warrior, you'll be enjoying more utility. If you guys don't know what that is, check out the previous video. I go over the utility part, but overall design-wise, at least damage design-wise, yeah, definitely bad. I don't like it at all. Maybe if they buff it, maybe, but overall, that's a pass for me. Iris Warrior, so I like the Apex Talons better on Iris Warrior, honestly, with the Heroic Strike. Management, way better. I tried Slayer, I tried Colossus. Rage generation is really bad. That has to change. Please buff Rage Gen on Colossus Arms Warrior. As a Slayer, a little bit better, but the spec still does no damage. Like, the tuning on arms has to be in very soon. Although they nerfed Arms Warrior by flat 20% last week, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, whatever builds I've tried, the damage is just not there. They just gotta get buffed, and that's soon, ASAP. And you know, but overall, I enjoyed Colossus better than Slayer. The playstyle surrounding Cleave, Ravager, I tried Blade Storming, with Heroic Strike, throwing overpowered Immortal Strikes in. The core is similar to what you can expect from the War of Into Midnight, but Heroic Strike, which is your Apex Talons, now taking quite a lot of prio because they are providing CDR for Colossus Smash, which now is kind of combined into abilities, which does a lot of damage. Although, I think not bad. I would definitely prefer Arms Warrior over Fury. Perhaps in a future patch they will change the way Arms works, but I like it so far. It's just the tuning that is atrocious that kind of driving me crazy. And then last but not least, we're talking about the last melee DPS pick, Frost Decay and Unholy, starting with Frost Decay. Well, Frost Decay didn't change a whole lot. Like, you can expect the same thing you had last season on Frost Decay, except now that you have your Frost Wurm, which is your part of your Apex Talons, which now makes your killing machines proc more, which makes you have longer breaths in the Glossa, which makes you do more damage. Once again, it's all chain reaction. Frost Decay is absolutely crazy, bursty, super tanky, same utility, same rotation, except that you have one extra button, and that's pretty much it. That's the TLDR. I love this pick. Fun, easy, big dam, big prio, everything's big. Yeah, that's pretty much about Frost. I think there's nothing bad I can say about this pick. I love it. Unholy arguably received the biggest changes across all melees. Your spec got scrapped from the bottom to the top. It's now looking a little bit more advantageous if you are a natural enjoyer of pet builds. There are different builds, pet builds, there are disease builds, kind of like Diablo 2 Unholy and Diablo 2 Necromancer. There is something similar to that. Disease build does slightly more AoE damage, but poor ST. And the pet build is looking to be very heavy ST, and AoE is looking to be not on the stronger side. The biggest quality of life change on Unholy is no D&D gameplay. If you're playing Rider, I've tried the no D&D gameplay and it actually slaps. Now, potentially people are exploring playing D&D if you're playing Sunlane, but if that is the case, I am never playing Sunlane. I am just gonna go Rider, no D&D, slap my pets, putrefy them, do big damn, that's it. Be happy. The tuning is crazy bad. Unfortunately, the tuning on Unholy Decay is crazy bad. Right now, you just do tank damage. Actually below tank damage at times, which is quite disappointing. But again, if you're looking fundamentally with the power spec and you don't care about numbers, I just think the proud damage could be an issue for Unholy Decay. But once again, they've never really had a big insane prior, so that's fine. The spike of the spec is quite good. I feel like it's gonna be a little bit more sustain heavy, especially with the pet rework, which at times could be overwhelming, especially if you have bad computer. You can spawn 10 to 15 pets at the same time and petrified explode them, which can cause some issues if you have bad computer once again. But overall, visually pleasant, yes. The playstyle looks to be also completely different, so I enjoy it. And looking forward for more tuning to see how the spec is gonna end up being. Anyway guys, that's everything so far about melees. Once again, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like it, subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next one. We're going to be talking about range in the next video. Hopefully you're going to enjoy that too, and very soon we will begin our beta progressive tier list where every single week we monitor, we test classes, we report back, and we're going to do that until the beginning of the season, which should be around 2.5 months of extensive every Sunday meeting starting very soon. I believe the next weekend should be already ready. First week of December. Anyway, peace out. Have a good one. And as always, much love.